If you're not running these artifacts, by Season 10, you'll already be at a disadvantage. Here are some of the best artifacts in New World Aeternum for both PvE and PvP. Artifacts are those glowing red items that flip your build entirely upside down, whether that be weapons, rings, or even some armor. Each one adds more spice to your life, just like a hot girl would to my DMs, and trust me, that is game changing, just like these artifacts. But how exactly do you get them, and how do you upgrade them? Head over to your gypsum kiln. They look like this on your map and can be found in the endgame settlements. Open this bad boy up. Boom, we have access to all the artifacts in the game that you've been able to acquire. Scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll see all these beautiful upgrades that shine brighter than my hopes and dreams. But how exactly do you upgrade these bad boys? You'll see two upgrades when you first click the item. One will only go to 700, and the next one will be 725. Here, you want to make sure you have your Golden Course Coconut or your Gorgonite Inductor. You get the Coconut by going to the PvP zone, you get one a week, and you get the Inductor by doing the Hive of Gorgon raid, which you only can grab once a week as well. You'll also need one Chromatic Seal, 5 Gypsum Orbs, which can be bought from your faction vendor, Dark Matter, which comes from doing dungeons, so you better start the grind or you'll be regretting this later. And one weapon matrix or armor matrix depending on the gear you're upgrading. These go anywhere between 6 to 10k. Next, you'll need the mod. Always make sure you know exactly what mod you want to put on your gear, as this is a relatively expensive upgrade and I don't want you wasting your gold. Now that we've got how to upgrade them out of the way, let's start by naming off some of the most broken artifacts in New World Aeternum you need to get. Let's start off with the most broken artifact in the entire game, the Crescent Wave Greatsword. This thing shreds people like paper in a shredder. This hits mobs faster than my sanity while dealing with other people in that dungeon, which is impressive. Where do you grab Crescent Wave? Well, you get it from the Season 9 pass. Open it up and you'll see it unlocked at level 20. This is very important to grab, as the next season, you don't know where this bad boy is going to be dropping from, because once items get removed from the season pass, they could drop from a random mob, a dungeon, a boss, and they can be quite difficult to grab. Make sure you farm this bad boy up now or you'll be kicking yourself in the booty later. What do you put on this bad boy? Gem slot all the way. Slot an opal in there and your DPS will be skyrocketing past the stars. What builds could you run this with? PvE DPS? Check. Light, medium, heavy PvP rat? Check. You can run this in any type of style of build. And if you're running Greatsword, you always want your Greatsword to be the artifact. And right now, the artifact of choice is 100% Crescent Wave. This thing will carry you harder than your healer throughout the dungeons. But now let's head into another top tier artifact that you want to make sure you don't miss out before Season 10 arrives. Let's say you're not into big swords. Instead, you want to be a wizard, like Harry Potter himself. Then I pick up the Infernal. This thing melts people down into dust. When you fight in PvP with this bad boy, all you're going to leave behind is salt. And in PvP or PvE, it's really strong, as this allows you to get 15% more damage when you hit a target within 15 meters, giving you a huge amount of damage. Plus, you can scale this with strength, opening up a lot of creative builds that are really strong or could completely terrorize your teammates, whichever one you're into more. Comes with Keelian Power and Vicious, two insanely good perks with Fire Style. The third perk, I went for Frost Attunement, as people were generally building Fire Resist back in the day. But now people moved much more over to the Opal meta, so I actually recommend putting Flame Attunement here instead, as this will give you huge burst damage while being able to stack Fire Harnessing on all your gear. Only a monster in terms of PvE, but extremely good in PvP as well. What builds could you run with the Infernal? There is a plethora of weapons you can combine this bad boy with. Hatchet, very strong and not troll whatsoever. You can even run this with Great Axe or Hammer if you like that type of style, opening up a abundance of strength builds. The personal best one in my opinion is Hatchet. This thing is a monster. You could even run Flail with Infernal and start deleting people. You might get banned because of how salty you're going to be making people get. You can also run the Fire Staff like a normal Fire Staff and pair it with the Ice Gauntlet or the Blunderbuss or even the Void Gauntlet. The Fire Staff Infernal has a plethora of builds, and I highly recommend picking this bad boy up as fast as possible because this thing could be very meta next patch. Open up your map and you acquire this in Imperium Forge. It has to be mutated, so sadly this week, well, you're going to be homeless, but hopefully next week it opens back up for business like that bakery down the road that always sold the best cinnamon buns. Let's get into some armor pieces. The best armor piece for PvE DPS is Atune leather pants. This thing gives you plus 11 attributes to all. That means you get a little bit of everything: strength, dexterity, intelligence, focus, and constitution. This is extremely strong because in PvE it's this flat base damage increase, which is best for overall DPS. It also allows you to hit these key thresholds where certain weapons need, such as the 5% CDR of focus, the 5% increased backstabs, and random critical hits. This one is massive. 5% crit chance from dex, and the 5% light attack damage from strength. These passives are crucial on a variety of PvE builds, and without them, you'll be homeless in a cardboard box sitting outside of Greatsword because no one's going to invite you to their raid group or dungeon party. Where do you grab the Atune leather pants? You just have to follow the main story quest all the way down into Alisium Wilds. Eventually, you'll grab it, you'll be good to go, and it's time to start PvEing like a demon. For PvP, it's okay. There is definitely better options out there. This is generally your go-to PvE set. Since Atune leather pants is your PvE set, what do you put on it? I would highly recommend putting either health or a weapon perk on this bad boy because you can't put enchanted ward on it because it comes with elemental aversion, stopping you from getting your dream perk, just like your friend stopping you from getting your dream girl. Now we got some good pants. Let's move on to another piece of gear that can completely change the way you play. Next up, let's discuss some brand new kicks we can acquire to completely dominate the battlefield. These are a monster in PvP and arguably the best armor fact in the entire game, the Tumbler feet wraps. What do? Successfully dodging the attack, so you do need hands for this bad boy. Gives you 15% in power, 25% Fortify. Also gives you a heal for 200 plus 2% of your max HP with a 1 second cooldown. Meaning, if you're a roly-poly-oly, you can proc this every second, giving you 3 free stats. That's what I like to call a happy meal with a fire sale attached to it. For the third perk, I like Shirking Heals, as this is a PvP artifact mainly. You don't really run this in PvP, PvE at all. Shirking Heals, dodging an attack heals for 250 health, plus 1 point of your max HP. This one, however, is on a 7-second cooldown. You can really see how strong tumblers are just from comparing Shirking Heals to the passive it gets, Shirking Blessing, a monster in disguise. Truly the king of artifacts for PvP. Where do you grab this bad boy? Time to hit up your OPRs and grind away. They come from these OPR caches that you get from winning or losing, so don't worry, if you do suck, you will still get your pity rewards afterwards. Just click activities, queue in to OPR, bam. You just have to complete the match and you'll be able to grab the crate. The major downside is you'll have to fight people. You could become a Bob the Builder in the back of the map, but come on, you're there for action. Time to get some bling, boys. Time to deck out our build and start rocking some serious style. Pick up the Bloodrinker ring. This one is my personal favorite artifact in the entire game. If they nerf this or remove this from the game, I could uninstall the next day. I love it that much. What does it do? Gives you 25% negative damage plus 25% lifesteal. All healing from lifesteal is increased by 5%. This turns us into a blood-sucking vampire that leaves nothing but a hollowed corpse behind. Comes with leeching and hardy on there. For the third perk, I chose slash damage as I'm primarily a slash rat. But for you, you could run whatever third perk you want here instead. I recommend always going the primary damage that your build does, or you can go keen for crit chance, allowing the Bloodrinker then to be used across a variety of different builds without breaking your bank account. Here's an important tip. You see that negative 25% damage? Well, that number is lying to you, just like your parents are. Instead, that only reduces your damage by approximately 12 to 14%, depending on your build and your loadout exactly. This thing is massive for soloing dungeons, PvE content, being a PvP goblin like myself, as it gives you an insane amount of survivability, while being extremely solo player friendly. I use this in pretty much all my builds and I highly recommend picking it up. Where do you grab this monstrosity? Open up your map. Come over here to Everfall. Starstone barrels has to be mutated. And look, right now, it's mutated. So I recommend getting on the hype train and riding it all the dungeon until you get the Bloodrinker artifact. This thing is massive and you do not want to miss this for Season 10. You got another weapon in your arsenal you'll want to pick up. I highly recommend grabbing Pestilence. This thing makes healers regret playing the game. Could even make them uninstall if you're using and abusing this thing enough. What does it do? Blighted enchantment. Attacks from both weapons against targets inflict a stack of poison. And a decreasing to incoming healing by 5% and outgoing healing by 2.5% per stack for 3 seconds, max 3 stacks. The 1 second activation cooldown. Plus, you get an additional perk, Pest, 8% damage, poison and disease targets. This thing is huge for calling the healer madness out in PvP. You also get 8% damage on this weapon. Sadly, I don't think it scales to the other weapons, making it not the best. But still a top tier artifact in my opinion, as this counters Shirking Heals builds, my build, Bloodrinker build, and any healer you run out to in the open wild extremely well, and arguably you could say it's the best weapon artifact in the entire game if everyone ran Bloodrinker or everyone was a healer, as this thing shuts down healers harder than a girl shuts me down on the first date. Where do you grab this bad boy? The PvP track. You'll have to be at least track 30 or above, so kind of get the grinding. There's a few ways to level up your PvP track that I'm going to tell you right now, so I don't have to explain this later on in the video, so just pay close attention. One is the Great Cleave method. You come over here to your faction vendor and you just run missions through Great Cleave. This one is peaceful, relaxing, and chill because no one will fight you over here, and it's kind of like a peace treaty. The next fastest way is 3v3 arenas. This is much more sweaty, greasy, so make sure you bring that oil because you're about to get lubed up. But the more chill PvP way to do it is OPR, as you can kind of just turn off your brain and zerg people down in this mode. What exactly do you put on the blunderbuss? Pestilence, the gem slot. This thing is always best in slot if your weapon can acquire it. Now let me know what to put on the weapon. What do you pair with it exactly? Any magical weapon is a great choice. Ice Golem and Fire Staff are my two favorite. Or you can run this with a more of a melee strength setup, such as Greatsword, Great Axe, or Hatchet. These things are a menace to society. But remember, the primary reason you're using this blunderbuss artifact is to stop healers from existing and send them into the Shadow Realm. Let me show you an amazing artifact to pair with this thing to completely make sure healers uninstall the game. Plague Herald. This thing is the true menace to society. Let's break it down. Plague Spreader. Every 0.5 seconds abilities and light attacks inflict a stack of 3% disease, max 10 stacks. You are also inflicted with 1% disease per stack. At 10 stacks on self, heavy attack will consume your stacks and trigger a cloud around the target for 7 seconds, inflicting 30% disease and 10% weaken to all nearby enemies for 12 seconds. This thing is hugely broken in my opinion when it comes to shutting down healers, life-stealing builds, and very heavily Shirking Heals builds. The max stacks you can put disease on a target is 50%. So when you combine Plague Herald with Pestilence and Plague Crit, you're always going to be capping max disease, basically preventing them from playing the game. This is not only an amazing build at stopping healers in OPR, wars, or in arenas, but it also makes them want to quit the game because they can't even play their build. To be honest, I think this kind of healing needs a nerf in the game, since this can 100% shut down a build, which is very unfun to play against. So if you enjoy being a bit of a dominatrix, this could be the build for you. What do you get? The Plague Herald? You have to win a race. So races come up every day, as you can see, in an upcoming race. You'll have to go there, do the race. You can just come for the last 5 to 10 minutes, as races do last for 45 minutes, and I don't want you suffering for that whole amount of time. I'm a nice guy. So go for the last 5 to 10 minutes. Make sure your faction win. You'll get a shiny box that looks like this. It has to say winner and not loser, because I'm tonight's biggest loser. What exactly do you put on the Plague Herald to round out your build? Enchanted Ward would be the perk of choice. You could also put Shirking Heals if you enjoy that heal more, but I think overall Enchanted Ward is just too broken in Duel of Aeternum right now. I've been giving a lot of love to the PvP crowd. So let's head back over to PvE and talk about some monster artifacts. The Finisher. This thing, still the reigning champion in terms of DPS in Gorgon and Worm. Why, you may be asking? Because of Finisher Harmony. Attacks against bleeding targets deal 15% more damage and reduce Flourish cooldown by 5% with a 1-second cooldown. Works on both weapons. This thing puts you in the driver's seat in PvE, allowing you to do monstrous amount of damage. But don't worry, this one also transitions over to PvP phenomenally, allowing you to dominate in both game modes with one artifact. What do you pair the Finisher with? Well, then go with a plethora of weapons. The musket, the bow, the spear, ice gauntlet, fire staff are some of the best options to pair the rapier with. Where do you grab this bad boy? Open up your map. Come over here to Elysian Wilds, and there'll be 3 baby mammoths. Don't worry, it's not child abuse if there's no witnesses. So when the mother spawns, take her out. Boom, bam, they're dusted, and you're free to go. Well, what do you put on this bad boy? The Finisher, Disdain Infliction, so your dots deal more damage, as that is what the rapier is all about for PvE. For PvP, it's more dependent on how you want to play, but for PvE, the best perk is Disdain Infliction. Next, let's talk about a phenomenal artifact for both PvE and PvP. Featherweight. This armor is weight, giving you a free chest piece. That's a bargain. It's like a discount sale at Walmart. Comes with refreshing and physical aversion. This thing gives you a couple % more damage reduction overall, making it phenomenal for healers in PvE, because healers just generally want to be tankier, and Featherweight allows you to do that. This is also great for PvP, as you can put this bad boy on your chest and run 2 Frigid Dawn pieces. And Frigid Dawn is broken because it comes with Enchanted Ward and Elemental Aversion in a legal weapon perk combination. Featherweight is also extremely easy to get, as you can get this one by yourself. If you have no friends, don't worry. Let me show you how to grab it. Come down to Elysian Wilds, and over here on the map, in Funnel Ridge, there'll be a bird sitting on top of this hill. Kill it 5 times, it'll drop you Featherweight, bam, you're good to go. What exactly do you put on this bad boy? Since it comes with physical aversion, we cannot put Enchanted Ward on there. That is a tragedy. So either put health, a weapon perk, or if you're a PvPer, Shirking Heals are all phenomenal options for Featherweight. We got Nimble Cloak. Very good for the PvE crowd. This reduces your max cooldowns by 8%. Primarily ran by either DPS or healers if healers don't want to run Featherweight. This is also the best in slot piece of gear for the Finisher build, as Rapier is super reliant on cooldowns, and having an extra 8% is massive for their overall damage, even outweighing something like Atune Leather Pants. Where do you grab this bad boy? Nimble Cloak is acquired from the PvP track. We mentioned earlier how to farm it, but I'll give a quick rundown one more time, because I'm feeling generous. The Great Cleave strategy. Pick up your faction vendor, do the PvP quests in this area, don't worry, no one will attack you. The PvP round, either do arenas if you're sweaty, greasy like myself, I love getting lubed up, baby. Or OPR if you want a more chill PvP experience, as you can become a Baba builder or Zerg it down. You'll also need to be track 30 or above to acquire this. What do you put on Nimble Cloak? Easy, Enchanted Ward. This turns your cooldown reduction wizardy cloak into a literal tank for both PvE and PvP. Soaking like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. Absolutely magnificent. Endless thirst. Arguably the best artifact in the entire game for jewelry. The thirst. Healing consumables are 33% stronger, but survival and mana potions cooldowns are 25% longer. This is what I call a trade-off. This is very broken for healers and light range players for dungeons and in PvP, as usually you're not getting smacked around like a heavy boy is, because you're not much of a masochist. But for you cowards in the back, this one is a go-to. And so since you're popping your potions later on, you get more out of these healing consumables when they're popped, which is more important to you than someone on the front line. Where do you grab this bad boy? Open up your map, head down to Alisium Wild. You'll have to do Savage Divide. Has to be mutated, so sadly this week you cannot acquire it. Well, make sure you grab this before season 10, as New World Aeternum is known for not having very many good artifacts for jewelry, and you want to make sure you collect these, like the Infinity Stones, so you can even make Thanos happy, unlike your parents. What do you put on this bad boy? I highly recommend putting the perk Refreshing Toast. Cooldowns are reduced by 10%. Massive. Gains up. Survivability up. Enemies tilt up. That's what I call a good day. Void Dark Plate is a game changer for you boys. Your armor is increased by 20%, just making you a bigger tank, a beefier boy, and the ladies, they'll love you in this bad boy. Just look how good it looks. Come with Enchanted Physical Aversion. Enchanted Magnificent. Physical Aversion, we could throw that in the fire, in the garbage dump. It's kind of irrelevant. Let's scroll down to the perk you want to bring. For Dark Plate, you always want to put on Soul Heart. This perk is huge. While health is below 50%, you gain 15% stamina regen. While stamina is below 50%, your healing is increased by 15%. The healers will love you. The ladies will love you. What more do you want? Perhaps me to love you. Sorry, I cannot do that. With the Void Dark Plate, good in both PvE and PvP, is a heavy armor enjoyer. Where do you grab this bad boy? Open up your map. Come down to Barnacles in Cutlass Keys. Has to be mutated like all the other dungeons. So time to get on that train, boys, and enjoy the ride. You'll be farming this thing probably for 5 times. Let's hope you don't lose your sanity along the way. Oh, this thing is beautiful. Consumables, lifesteal, and outgoing heals are reduced by 25%. That's garbage, but it comes with a sweet bonus. All other healing is increased by 25%. This thing is broken, beyond busted when paired with the healer. So if you have a healer in your group for PvE, PvP, Ankh is a godsend. If you're a solo player, you might as well just throw this out the window and let your neighbor have it, because we don't like that guy anyways. Comes with Divine and Health. Third perk, I recommend putting a protection perk on there, such as Frost Protection, Slash Protection, Fire Protection for PvP. For PvE, it's hard to run because protection perks are needed for a lot of dungeons, so this is primarily a PvP artifact. This is very broken when paired with Shirking Heals and the Ironheart setup. Speaking of Ironheart, it's our next artifact. What do you grab? Ankh first from the PvP track. We've already been over that twice, so I'm skipping it this time. Ironheart. When not in a heavy loadout, increases your max health by 20% of the base value. This thing is very broken with the Ankh Shirking Heals build. 5 Shirking Heals plus Ankh plus Ironheart. Whenever you dodge and get the Shirking Heal proc, it will heal you for about 6 to 7k. It's absolutely insanity. The major downside of this bad boy, It requires almost a best in slot build to properly work, but when you get that build together, this thing is a monster on the battlefield. How do you get it and what perk to put on it? You get this bad boy by doing the PvP track once again. Also, you put shirking heals on this. It's a no-brainer, turning you into a bunny rabbit that heals like he's on the roids. Have fun with this build. This one is nasty. Next up, my personal favorite artifact of this entire season, besides the Crescent wave, Creed Boots. This is an assassin's wet dreams. You will be foaming at the mouth after I read this passive. Backstab and headshots against a target will deal 20% increased damage and inflict them with a weaken by 10% for 5 seconds. You also gain in power by 10% for 5 seconds and increase your crit chance by 10% for 5 seconds. Targets cannot be ambushed again for 15 seconds. This thing hits like a freight train. You melt enemies into dust. You leave corpses behind you, body bags everywhere you go. This is the single highest damaging artifact in the entire game. When you get behind someone, see that fat juicy booty and you smack it, their health bar evaporates faster than their sanity. I've been using this primarily on every build because just how broken it is. I also think this is the most underrated artifact in the entire game for PvP. It comes with Enchanted Ward. That's the perk you want to put on it. Negative 4% damage. Who doesn't love a little shield that protects you from all your little mistakes? Where do you grab Creed Boots? I got them from going over to Ebonscale and just doing this elite chest run. It drops from named enemies in this area, so make sure to loot up and X up for those chest runs, as Creed Boots is an artifact you do not want to be sleeping on, especially for next patch, where you don't know what artifacts we're going to be getting, if they're going to be good or bad. And Creed Boots is already, in my opinion, the best artifact in the entire game for a light melee build. The Deep Freeze. It's time to go to my homeland, Canada, and freeze these guys mentally, physically, and spiritually. Frozen, rooted, or chilled enemies take an additional 15% damage, works on both weapons. This is amazing in PvE and PvP for a DPS Ice Gauntlet. You can run this over the Infernal staff if you want. I personally still prefer Infernal over Deep Freeze, but Deep Freeze is a millimeter behind it, in my opinion, from Infernal. Where do you get this bad boy and what perk do you put on it? Where do you grab it? Open up your map, head over to Great Cleave. Glacial Tarn is the dungeon of choice. This has to be mutated once again, but don't worry, it's nice and chilly in there, so you won't die from heat, you'll die from frostbite. Still a sad way to go. What perk do you put on the good old Deep Freeze? I'm not 100% sure, but I'd recommend either putting a weapon perk on there or a attunement perk is generally best in slot, depending on what you're doing. Next up, Serenity. This is the best Greatsword in the entire game if you're a tanking rat, and if Crescent waves ever get nerfed into the Shadow Realm, Serenity will be taking its place back on top of the summit. It comes with Balanced Blade. Offensive stacks give you 2% in power per stack, up to 10, so 20% additional in power. Defensive stance, 2% Fortify, one hit for 5 seconds, max 10 stack, giving you an additional 20% Fortify. This is huge while tanking, as this is just free armor, aka free real estate. It comes with an illegal weapon perk combination, Trenton Strikes, and crits, making this thing hit like a freight train, one-shotting mobs and players alike. It also comes with a refreshing move, which is just like a cherry on top. Light and heavies attacks reduce your active cooldowns by 2.5%. What do you put on this bad boy? The gem slot. It's just free damage. Who doesn't love a free pie in the morning? I know I do. It comes from the PvP track, by the way. You need to be 30 plus to hook this, and it will take you quite a bit of grinding. Winged leather shoes. These things, the most underrated artifact in New World Aeternum. What do? Increases haste on you by 50%, making you faster than Usain Bolt himself. You also get 10% more base damage while hasted. This is huge when you combine this with haste builds like Tempest Fury, an absolute monstrosity to mankind and should be removed from this planet. This is also an extremely strong artifact if you can get in power cap relatively easily, like 40 to 50% through your weapon and other pieces of gear. What do you put on this bad boy? Enchanted Ward or Shirking Heals, as this is primarily PvP artifact. Where do you grab it? You're gonna have to kill a flower in the middle of Elysian Wilds. No, this thing is not soloable, so grab the Guardian crew. You'll need a healer, a couple of head trimmers to take this bad boy out, as this weed has gotten out of control. Lifetaker, the Void Gauntlet artifacts that turns your build into a dot machine. Your ranged attacks inflict Disintegrate for 8 seconds on both weapons, and if your dexterity attribute is higher, replaces the weapon's base scaling with dex, meaning this thing is super strong when compared with certain weapons like the bow or musket, giving you not only in power cap for free, but your autos deal more damage than the trauma I endure while in childhood. Because with keen, life-stealing, refreshing move, the perk you want to put on this bad boy, I'd go for a weapon perk, as those things are nasty with the Void Gauntlet. Where do you grab this guy? You gotta kill my gorilla brother down in Elysian Wilds. He's hairy just like me, so have fun. Head wrap. Shrugs base duration of your non-crowd controlling debuffs on you by 20%. Also comes with Invigorating. This allows you to cleanse debuffs such as Weakens, Disease, Exhaust, and Rends on you very fast, and those things are right now a huge problem in PvP. Shredding your health bar down faster than your self-esteem after the first date. What do you put on this bad boy? Enchanted Ward or Shirking Heals, as this thing is primarily a PvP artifact. Where do you grab this? By opening up those elite chests in Elysian Wild. Let's talk about the Old Crown. Gives you plus 11 to all attributes. Comes with 3% physical damage absorption and 3% elemental damage absorption, making this thing a really solid PvP artifact and even PvE artifact if you use multiple stats. Personally, I prefer Kree boots over this, but I still think it's a solid option for someone who can't always hit it from the back like your boy can. I got game. What do you get this bad boy? PvP track. What do you put on it? Enchanted Ward or Shirking Heals? And with that, boys, hope you guys did enjoy the video. It meant a lot to me. Hit that like button, subscribe. And while you're at it, become a YouTube channel member and be cemented in the Gremlin Hall of Fame for the rest of your life. We always got cookies. You get a cool badge, and I'll even be your personal poodle. Wrap that leash around my neck and choke me harder than my daddy does. We're in for a good time.